Yo, what's up y'all? Welcome back to the channel. We're going to be checking out a video titled The Reality of Living in Europe. So this is an American living in Europe, specifically Portugal. So shout out to Dave in Portugal. A link for the original video will be in the description of my video. So please go show some love to this guy who is living in Europe, who wasn't, probably in his lifetime be like, yeah, I'm gonna live in Europe one day, right? So pretty cool, pretty amazing. Now we're gonna be learning about the reality of living in Europe, which should be a very interesting video. So without further ado, let's get right into this video. But please do like and subscribe if that is even possible. But either ways, man, let's get right into this video.
This is some guy named Dave in Portugal, and I moved from the United States to Europe, and now my life is just perfect. Here's a reel of me doing some fancy European
Nah, listen, I ain't gonna hold you, bro. That's an American commercial right there. Walk them out. Let me get my ass up out of here, because that is so American, like literally. That's like a furniture shop ass commercial, bro. Like what?
Wait, how do I, wait, just, 1 second here,
Locked out.
What is going on here?
Go home, you stupid American.
Moving to Europe is like taking the
Don't break the chair, baby. Don't break the damn chair. Whoo, yeah, that one right there. Yeah,
red pill in the Matrix. Am I really loud and unaware of my surroundings? LFG, let's fucking go! Do I get way too drunk and act like a frat bro?
No, football. Ever heard of it?
I live in the best country in the world, right? We have culture. I mean, we have hamburgers and stuff. So moving to Europe as an American wasn't exactly as I expected, but that's part of the journey, right? I mean, I wouldn't move all the way across the Atlantic to experience what I already had in the United States.
Exactly.
First off, I want to say that I made...
And quick point, the truth is, like, a lot of people hate on the United States, and some Americans hate on Europe. Some people hate on Africa, Asia, and it baffles my mind, because I'm like, dude, you would not be special if those places weren't different. Like, I love the United States and always will. But I love Europe. There are many things in Europe that I hate, and there are many things in the United States that I will not like. And there are many things in Europe that I will love, and there are many things in the United States I will love. I just don't understand why people just cannot understand that this is human. We're human, and we won't be all similar. Just learn to deal with it.
This video for fun. I've had the privilege to travel a lot of places in the world, and there are definitely some funny similarities and different things that I hear people say, and I'd like to share some of those experiences in this video. None of these are meant to be offensive or mean-spirited towards Europe or the United States. It's just simply what I have observed as an American abroad in Europe. If you disagree with some of the stuff I say in this video, feel free to share your opinion in the comments below.
Do that. High expectations. Yeah, I think so, actually.
Literally, there is a thing called Paris syndrome. This is a sense of extreme disappointment that people had when they first visit Paris for the first time. They feel like the city was nothing of what they had expected. The condition is commonly viewed as a severe form of culture shock. But is it really culture shock at all? Now, I know there's this never-ending feud between French people and Americans, and I don't want to fuel that fire. But it just drives me crazy that Americans tend to over-romanticize places like Paris and Rome. In my opinion, cities like Paris and Rome are my least favorite places to travel to. These places, in my opinion, are so overrated and expensive for what you get. If you wanted to have an authentic European experience, I can name 10 cities that I'd rather go to than Paris or Rome. But Americans just keep coming back to Paris and Rome over and over and over again. This creates an opportunity for many locals and people to take advantage of the American tourists. A lot of restaurants will charge you this ridiculous gratuity fee at the end of the dinner that is upwards of 25%. Because Americans are used to tipping culture, right? So it should be normal. But this is a common sham that
The thing is, with me, how I roll is this. Pretty much, when you go somewhere as a foreigner, my advice is always take a local. And even if a person is not a local, at least have someone who knows this place much better than you do. For example, if I visited the United Kingdom, I would go where my family are located. Why? Because they're British and I can just easily let them do everything while I just sit in the back and no one knows I'm not from the UK because I don't say shh. If that makes sense.
In Paris, especially near the popular landmarks. Now, if you're into things like standing in lines forever for gaudy museums, getting treated terrible at restaurants and cafes, and being in a major city which has the highest crime rate in all of Europe, then Paris might be your spot. Paris is just not for me. I'm not into that style of fashion and waiting 2 hours to see the Mona Lisa for like 20 seconds. If you really want to experience authentic French culture, just go outside of Paris. There are many beautiful cities all through France that are so much more incredible, in my opinion, than Paris. I don't mean any disrespect towards the people of France, but many of my French friends even hate Paris as well. Okay, so let's give Europe a break and put America in the hot seat. After living in Europe for 2 years, when I see Americans, sometimes I can't help but feel cringe. Now, I know what you're thinking. Who is this American guy who has the authority to say what's cringe about other Americans? He's just an American. Well, maybe some Europeans feel the same way about me. But let me point out some of the things I commonly see. I was out to dinner in Lisbon, Portugal, where I live, and there was an American couple sitting next to me.
Oh, Lord.
They were speaking very loudly and saying things like, "That's not the way we do it in America," and "I asked for a coffee, not an espresso." Then at the end,
I ain't gonna hold you, man. I be saying stuff like that, but I ain't gonna say it out. Like, what? Like, leave the complaints behind, my dude. Like, peep game. I'm living in Finland and I'm not the most patient guy. Like, I'm not used to things being slow. I'm at the cashier, I think it was yesterday, and I'm like, yo, chop it up, man. Like, what we doing, baby? Let's go. But I'm not gonna say that out so that the person at the front can hear me. Like, nah, we're not gonna do that because, you know, it's how they do it, right? Plus, you know, I don't really think anybody would like that anywhere in this world. But you gotta know that you gotta leave that attitude where you picked it up and not take it to where you're currently located, if that makes sense.
End of the dinner, when they were ready for the bill, they said to the lady, "We're all set." The lady looked confused and asked if they wanted anything else. And they repeated again, "No, we're all set." This happened probably 3 times, and the American couple started getting upset because they were not bringing the check. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, how do you come to a new country where English is not their first language and think that the words "we're all set" means I'm ready to...
Yeah, because that's what I'm talking about. Like, the importance of having or knowing where you are. You know, having someone who lives there or knowing, you know, where you're currently at. Because we're all set. In the United States, you say, we're all set. It's time to go. That's what that simply means. We're all set. Let's go. Whatever you need to give to me, give it to me. It's time to go. But in Europe, for crying out loud, they hear we're all set. They're like, we're all set? What the frig is that? So I just, this is a good video, man. This is a good video.
Hey, how about we're ready to pay now? Or can I have the check, please?
Yeah.
I just love how in America, these are the same types of people that criticize people and say, we speak English here in America.
Yeah.
But when they visit other countries, they expect them to speak English as well.
Yeah.
And this is the type of ignorance in America that just baffles me. Like, the United States is the center of the universe and nowhere else exists. Then you have the apologetic, overcompensating simp. These characters think they are the gatekeepers for Americans that come to visit Europe. You can commonly find them in the expat Facebook groups, policing and shaming people for not knowing as much about Europe as they do. You see this a lot in Europe, especially with the digital nomad boom, and it absolutely drives me crazy. Like, how hard is it just to respect the people around you and welcome new people in a nice and welcoming way?
Mass generalization.
Now, I think that Europeans and Americans are guilty of mass generalizations about each other. I think that a lot of Europeans
Thanks.
think that Americans just eat cheeseburgers every day. We all want to be billionaires and we think we live in the best country in the world. Now, there is certainly some truth to that. However, there is more people I know that are the exact opposite. I know a lot of people who criticize the United States of America, don't eat cheeseburgers every day, and are content with what they have and don't want to become some millionaire. And then you have America.
Billy. To be a millionaire is like not even an accomplishment, in my humble opinion. It's very much obtainable if you're from a first world country. If you manage your finances, have a good job, you don't waste your money, it's very much obtainable. For crying out loud, like being an engineer, you probably get like $110,000 annually. You put that down in 20, like it's really not that hard to be a millionaire. That's my perspective of, you know, being a person who can manage your finances. That's my 2 cents. But a billionaire, that's just very, very ambitious in my humble opinion. But if you want to be that, go ahead. Ain't nothing wrong with it.
Don't use deodorant and vacation more than they work. However, I know Europeans who are very conservative and like Donald Trump. I also know many Europeans that are overworked and work very hard. So you can't fit everyone into a box and the general stereotypes. And I think that even though we have the internet today, there is this game of telephone going on between Europe and the United States because you don't really know what it's like to be in either country until you actually go there. One of the things that I've been criticized for here in Europe is getting excited and loud about things in a restaurant or at a bar. But when an Italian person or a Portuguese person or a French person gets very loud, they say, oh, he's just Italian or he's just French. And I realize that there's really no merit to this and it doesn't hold much water, as I've heard these cultures get super loud. And if you've ever been to any bar district in Europe and heard an English rugby team shouting their chants, you know that they are the parallel to the American frat boys.
Yeah, that is actually true because I've seen a lot of Europeans get real loud and nobody really says anything, you know, because the thing is, it's an unfortunate thing, but the world that we live in is based off what you'd say, assumptions. And once an assumption becomes true, it becomes a stereotype, and majority of stereotypes are actually not true. It's just that there is actually a factual part of that stereotype. Meaning, if they say all, you know, Americans are loud, it means that you will find Americans being loud at times. However, that doesn't mean that it's, you know, all across the board, which is quite unfortunate, but it is, you know, what we got to deal with as being humans.
So this is one of the biggest ones that I always hear in Europe about Americans, and that is that Americans have no culture. And it may be different cultures bringing their culture into the United States, but that's what the United States is, kind of a melting pot of all these cultures. And I think one of the coolest things about the United States is how diverse these cities are. There are no cities that are as diverse as New York City. But in Europe, because the culture is so old, there is something about the age-old traditions that are so cool. The castles everywhere and just the old traditions of all the people are very, very palpable in Europe, and that feeling is just so cool to me. So as far as I'm concerned, if Europe was a part of the United States, it would have already been canceled. Like anyone who is from Europe watching this is probably laughing right now. This is one of the things that gets brought up in conversation so much while I'm here in Europe. So many Europeans ask me about this American cancel culture. And it is true that there are many things that I see and hear here in Europe that would not fly in the current climate of the United States. I think that the United States prides themselves on moving forward technologically, maybe even too fast sometimes with places like Silicon Valley and the AI stuff that's currently going on. But in Europe, bureaucracy can be complicated to say the least. For instance, Germany is one of the—
Not all of them. Just keep that in mind. Shout out to Finland. Much love to Finland. They got that like bing bow. I'm telling you, man, it's, my gosh, man, it's the best I've ever seen in the world. Hey.
more progressive nations when it comes to lowering greenhouse gas emissions. But they are a country where literally everything is done on paper. Stacks and stacks and stacks of paper. I mean, you care about the greenhouse gases, but you don't care about the trees? And living here in Portugal, sometimes the bureaucracy feels like it's interpreted from person to person. One person will tell you one thing is done like this, and another person will tell you something completely different. It can be extremely frustrating. Now, I know the process for immigrants in the United States is a very long and strenuous and difficult process, but most people don't think about the other side. Did you know that just holding a passport in the United States subjects you to be taxed anywhere in the world? In fact, the United States is one of the only countries in the world that has this foreign tax policy. And the only way to not pay Uncle Sam is to renounce your US citizenship, which costs a whopping $2,350. And you can never get it back. So Uncle Sam always gets his cut. Now, all of these are just opinions on how I see the world. I have been privileged enough to be able to travel to so many amazing places, and I'm thankful to be able to share some of those experiences with you. As the late Anthony Bourdain said, if I am an advocate for anything, it's to move. As far as you can, as much as you can. Across the ocean or simply across the river. The extent to which you can walk in someone else's shoes or at least eat their food is a plus for everyone.
Big facts.
Open your mind, get off your couch, move.
I like that.
If you want to see more content about Europe,
I like that. I like that outro that he just did. I love that. It's a beautiful thing. I don't know why people don't like cultures and diversity. It's a beautiful thing, man. Like, it's a beautiful thing. Like, I would go to China right now and, you know, observe their culture and all of the, I may not agree with something that somebody does, but that's their way of life. Why am I trying to force mine onto them? I've never understood it before. But either ways, you know, to each his own, whatever. We out of this video. Thank you for watching. Shout out to Dave in Portugal. This was a beautiful video. Yeah, we outie. Peace.